Hello, it's Randi Rhodes. Here's a clip from our show, and go to randirhodes.com for the whole thing and a podcast. Buy a stinking podcast.
Mary had a little man. The fault. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon.
I have a dream today.
Change has come to America.
Believe it.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show. Turn up your mind.
A full week after Hurricane Maria hit Puerto Rico, patience, like so many other things, is in short supply, especially over federal disaster aid.
He, President Trump, has the power. If he could show his power in Puerto Rico, things would be different, very different. Many people don't trust him.
For a second straight day, President Trump defended his administration's response, saying the government is doing everything it can.
Massive amounts of water, food, and supplies, by the way, are being delivered on an hourly basis. It's something that nobody's ever seen before. From this country.
Today, Puerto Rican Governor Ricardo Rosselló said the U.S. territory needs a sweeping aid package.
The proud U.S. citizens that live in Puerto Rico, wanna work, wanna deal with the emergency. Our ask is that we treat Puerto Rico equally, that we attend to the devastation, and if we do that, we can avoid a humanitarian crisis in the United States.
At a Senate hearing, Acting Homeland Security Secretary Elaine Duke said efforts are hampered by the condition of the Puerto Rican government.
The capacity of the Puerto Rican government is severely diminished, both because of Hurricane Irma, their prior existing financial situation, and the devastation wreaked by the direct hit of Maria. We're using the DOD to now help with distribution. That generally is something that the Commonwealth would do itself.
Senators of both parties pushed Duke to waive long-standing shipping restrictions, known as the Jones Act, to help get supplies to the island.
That waiver was given to Houston, was given to Florida. It's a week to be able to get even a vessel to them. So the longer it takes to be able to get that waiver done, then vessels can't even start getting there.
Much of the aid that has reached the island has not made it much farther than San Juan.
They have not evaluated the real level of damage, and they are doing what they can, however they can. But since there isn't communication, people don't know what to do or how to do it.
With help like a U.S. Navy hospital ship, the Comfort, still days away, states and municipalities have sent help on their own. Even individuals like NBA player J.J. Barea are pitching in. He borrowed the Dallas Mavericks team plane to fly aid into his native Puerto Rico earlier this week. For many on the island, it remains a do-it-yourself recovery with a patchwork of desperate fixes.
Oh, this is just vile. I have to tell you, this is vile because, a week after our hurricane, which wasn't, Category 5 by any stretch of the imagination, but it was big, it was large, it was a lot of rain, it was, big wind, it was super, super, super huge and, affected the East Coast, the West Coast, the Keys are just decimated. And then, of course, Texas and Houston area with Harvey. I don't know what I don't know. Is it because they're brown? Is it because they speak Spanish? Is it because out of sight, I don't know what the deal is, but I have a little bit of advice for Puerto Rico, and that is this. Play the national anthem on loudspeakers on a truck, and then everybody take a knee, and he'll see you. He'll finally freaking see you. I'm serious about this. It's the only thing that catches his imagination. It's because if you don't kneel during the national anthem, and I know that you don't have a lot of generator power, I know that you don't have a lot of diesel to run those generators, you don't have a lot of gasoline, you don't have anything because we haven't done very much for you. I would just suggest that some guy with a truck just turn up the national anthem on a battery-operated sound system, and everybody on the island, all 3.5 million Americans, that's what they need to do. Take a knee, all at the same time, and we'll tweet it out. You know what I mean? PBS is down there. There's a lot of independent news journalists down there. Listen to this. It's just
people have absolutely no power. Most people don't have any running water. The water situation in particular is quite dire. Where there is bottled water available in grocery stores, the lines are incredibly long. So when we were up in the mountains near Calle, near Ay Bonito, near Guamo, we saw people gathering water from mountain streams to drink, to cook with, to clean with, waiting in line for non-potable water that had been sitting stagnant in municipal tanks for days, and going to rivers to take baths and wash laundry. Many of these people, their homes were completely destroyed or partially damaged in the storm, and a lot of people said they haven't seen any aid whatsoever reaching their communities. The mayor of Cuamo, I spoke with him this morning, and he said that the sum total of aid that his municipality received was 5 pallets of water, which is nothing compared to aid.
You say people out in the hinterlands, as it were, are seeing very little aid. How does that compare with San Juan?
San Juan is somewhat better off. It's still difficult for people to find resources even here. The lines for ATMs for cash are very long. The lines for gas are very long. I've talked to people who have driven all over the city looking for generators. I talked to a family whose generator was actually destroyed in the storm, and there's simply none to be found. But the food availability, the water availability here in the city is better off. People can buy things when they need them, which is not the case in some of these more isolated communities.
So is it the case that the aid is getting into the city, but they can't get it out beyond it? Is that the situation?
That's the frustration that I was hearing from people in these communities, and even from the mayors who I spoke with this morning here in San Juan, who were coming to petition to ask for more help, to say that they need more resources in their communities. That said, the government of Puerto Rico will tell you the resources are getting out. It's just very difficult, very dangerous, and slow. So conflicting reports about how much of the aid is actually being distributed out of the ports here. But there are certainly people who say they haven't seen any FEMA trucks, that they haven't seen any drop-offs, or that the only help they've seen has been coming from their own local communities, neighbors helping each other and mayors serving their communities.
Holy crap, man. This is just heartbreaking. This is really, really heartbreaking. And of course, the Jones Act, which I don't know if you guys know, it's a 100-year-old law that says that the only kinds of ships that can ship into Puerto Rico, which we colonized after the Spanish-American War, can only be American-built, American-flagged ships. And that's why at the port, you just see this one... you see this one company, Crowley, okay? That's all you're going to see. If anybody will show you what the port looks like, you'll see Crowley containers, and that's because Crowley doesn't want the Jones Act. They didn't want the Jones Act waived because Crowley does all their shipping into Puerto Rico. Not all their shipping, but the Puerto Ricans get water and food and everything from these Crowley containers, and they were lobbying. It's so amazing. It's Donald Trump, I'm going to get rid of all these regulations. This is a 100-year-old crusty, moldy, it's as old as the crack and grandma's ass regulation to benefit American shipbuilders and American, maritime companies. Crowley Maritime is one of those ones that lobbies for that. And he can't even waive the regulation so that ships that were waved into the United States to help Florida from foreign governments, ships that were waved into the Gulf of Mexico. I mean, there are ships that are sitting there that, they have until, I think, the end of this week to unload their stuff in Florida because they did waive the Jones Act for Florida so we could get extra water and extra, things that we needed, extra diesel for our generators because we were out power for almost a week down here. And so, but they wouldn't waive it for Costa Rica. Mr. I Hate Regulations wouldn't waive what? Oh, I keep saying Costa Rica. Yeah, because this is, I understand what the life there is. I understand how fragile it is to begin with. And then to get no help after a Category 5 storm from your own government, it just reminds me of a third world nation with a corrupt government. It just does. And that is pretty much what Puerto Rico is being treated as, a third world nation. Except it's us. It's our nation. But they do have a corrupt government because he would not waive until today. He would not waive the Jones, which meant that all these ships that are sitting here that didn't need to offload their stuff couldn't deliver to Puerto Rico. They couldn't do it because he wouldn't wait. And I mean, all he does is keep saying we're doing a fabulous job. This is what he says.
I'd like to take a moment to send America's hearts and prayers to the people of Puerto Rico and the U.S. Virgin Islands. Both have been devastated, and I mean absolutely devastated, by Hurricane Maria, and we're doing everything in our power to help the hard-hit people of both places, Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands. A massive effort is underway, and we have been really treated very, very nicely by the governor and by everybody else. They know how hard we're working and what a good job we're doing as we speak.
They know to kiss your
FEMA,
big fat ass.
our great first responders.
FEMA, right.
And all available federal resources, including the military.
Not true. Okay, I can't stand it. Okay, I really can't stand him. I mean, this man, it's one thing to lie, which, you know, he does regularly and with zest and zeal. I mean, he lied yesterday about, I got the votes to pass health care, just, you know, Friday is the last day. I don't know what's worse, being stupid and not understanding that if you did have the votes, you should take the vote now before Friday, or that he's lying. I don't know, you know, how he gets away. I mean, maybe his base will believe any damn thing. He keeps saying we have the votes except for one senator who's in the hospital. And everybody in the press, everybody went, Trump is the one that needs to be institutionalized because there was no senator in the hospital. Thad Cochran is recovering from some UTI, which we discussed yesterday. He's probably sticking stuff in there, you know, as an old man with no, you know, prospects. Probably just doing it himself and picked up a bacterial infection of some sort. Seen it, been there, done that, you know, so, but he has a proxy vote. If he wanted to vote yes, he could have, you know, and even if I'm sure Thad Cochran, I'm sure he's a yes. I'm sure he is. But he still lost McCain and Susan Collins and Rand Paul, and that's 3. And when you only have 51 minus 3, you don't have the votes. So I don't know if he's talking to his base or dumb enough to believe anything he says, or is it a case of Trump believing what he says because he's an idiot, or he lives on Fantasy Island. In fact, I think Puerto Rico is his fantasy island. I think he thinks Hervé Villachez is standing there right now going, the plane. And Trump himself swoops in and drops a pallet load of well-done steaks covered in ketchup and Tic Tacs. This is like, I don't even know if he's making stuff up or he's blatantly obvious, you know, that he's lying. Shouldn't the most powerful person in the world, though, be forced to live in the real world? Shouldn't he? And he's not. Because check this out. This is so sad. You know, today they decided to send a brigadier general to Puerto Rico. Today. And General Honore was interviewed on CNN about an hour ago, and it took my breath away, okay?
The Hurricane Katrina relief effort. I mean, General, I think it's wonderful that this general will be, you know, on Puerto Rican soil today, but I'm left wondering what the heck took so long?
Well, I think that ought to be the center part of the Senate investigation, because something's happened since Katrina with how we were supposed to do that. That command that General Buchanan commanded, and I congratulate him, he's the right guy, because guess what? That's his only job, is to be prepared to respond to disasters in the United States. I'm going to say that one more time.
Please.
That is his only job. We didn't use him in Harvey because of political BS. We didn't need him in Irma because General Calhoun maneuvered and the chairman emptied the barn door and even sent an aircraft carrier. But for some reason, we've spent since 8 days now to do what we should have done on the second day. And that was to appoint our North or Marine North. He's got a 3-star Marine buddy and a Navy buddy, all of them on the East Coast that could have done the same thing. I don't know why it happened, but we need to find out and make sure next year when hurricane season come around, all 3 of those components, to include the Air Force, is ready to lead a joint task force in behind a Category 3 or higher storm. We need to fix this.
This is just this breaks my heart. I mean, you have 21 states that have lower population than Puerto Rico. 21 states have less people living in them than Puerto Rico does. Now, Puerto Rico's not a state. They don't have congressional representation. This is why they never get a piece of the appropriations, okay? But this lie that because it's an island or because it was so damaged, we can't respond. I mean, did we learn nothing from the Marshall Plan after World War II? Did we learn nothing when we built the Green Zone in Iraq, a war-torn country? We don't know. We didn't learn anything about supplying people that are in, thick jungles or rice paddies or remote islands from North Korea, from the Korean War or Vietnam War. We don't know anything about logistics, really? This is what we're supposed to be accepting here? Kneel, Puerto Rico, kneel. RandiRhodes.com for the whole thing and a podcast. Buy a stinking podcast.